Today in this video, we'll explain Indian economy during 1950-1990, agricultural subsidy, industry, and trade policy. Let's start with agricultural subsidies. What is agricultural subsidies? Agricultural subsidy, which is also known as agricultural incentives, is a government incentive paid to agribusiness, agricultural organizations, and farms to supplement their income, manage the supply of agricultural commodities, and influence the cost and supply of such commodities. Is there any need of subsidy? There is a debate of agricultural subsidies. So we have some points for the subsidy and against the subsidies. Let us first start with the four advantages. Number one, subsidy is the incentive to the farmers, whether large or small, for purchasing of modern equipments for agricultural purposes. The second point we can say the adaptation of technology by the farmers to test using the subsidies. If there is no subsidies, then the farmers, most of the farmers will not be able to use the latest technology in the agricultural field. Third, fertilizer subsidy benefits both the farmers as well as fertilizer producing industries. So there is growth of industries as well as agricultural products. In 1916, there was enough production of food grains, particularly wheat and rice, in India due to application of modern technology, which were available to the farmers at subsidized rate, and that's why we achieved green revolution. So that is the outcome of agricultural subsidy. Therefore, these points justify that there is importance of subsidies in India and it should be continued. Now the next side, disadvantages. Agricultural subsidy does not benefit the target group. The purpose of subsidies is to help poor farmers, but it is not helpful to the farmers, whereas it is shared with the prosperous farmers. So most of the benefit of subsidies is taken away by the prosperous farmers. Second point, it benefits the fertilizer industries and prosperous farmers. Therefore, fertilizer subsidies should not be continued. Third, subsidies create a great burden on the government, which results in budget deficit. Finally, we can say that subsidies should be given for a particular period of time to benefit the target group for a specified period of time, which should not be continued forever. So these points can be given for and against agricultural subsidy. Now the industrial policy. Before we explain the industrial policy, let us know what is the need for industry. Number one is economic growth. What is economic growth? Industry serves as the epicenter of economic growth. Because of industry, GDP will rise and there will be structural transformation in the economy. Number two, source of employment. Industry is an important source of employment. This becomes significant when agriculture is already overburdened and the labor force is rising rapidly. Moreover, we see in agriculture sector different types of unemployment. So, to shift the unemployed person, or we can say the labor force, from agriculture sector to industrial sector, industries are required. Next is share in GDP. Industry accelerates the growth process. In the absence of industry, growth process would have been restricted to the production of food for survival. Industrialization has added new dimension to human life. It has generated a wave of consumerism. What is consumerism? Means consumption of a wide variety of goods and services by the consumers. And that is possible because of industrialization. Next, infrastructural growth. Industrialization has led to infrastructural growth in India. Industry tends to spread across different parts of the country. As it spreads, there is an expansion of industrial infrastructural facilities like power, communication, transport, etc., banking, insurance, and so on. Therefore, the industrial growth and infrastructural growth are interlinked. Next, urbanization. Urbanization has led to the growth of civilization. And urbanization, it is because of growth of industrialization. Now people become conscious of their quality of life. They work hard to achieve higher levels of education and skill, and therefore they want training, education, personal development programs, so on. Need for public sector. First, huge investment. The government intervention is required for industrialization because there is need for huge investment. The private sector, they do not show any interest in setting up industries, large scale industries we can say, because it requires huge amount of capital. Moreover, the private investors lacked inducement to invest because limited size of market due to level of demand low level of demand because of low level of income. Therefore, there was a sort of vicious circle operating in this country. Only a big push public investment could break this vicious circle. Accordingly, public enterprises were the obvious choice to initiate the process of industrialization in India. Next is long gestation period. In most of the cases, we find that from the establishment to the production of output, it takes a long time, and private investors, they want the quick profit, so they are generally not interested in investing in big industries and large industries. So the government intervention is required. Next is social justice. The government realized that the objective could be achieved, what objective? Social objective could be achieved only through direct participation of the state in the process of industrialization. Because it requires investment and generates employment rather than investment that maximizes profit. Concentration of wealth was to be discouraged, and public investment was considered as the best means to achieve it. Economists have found that poor nations can progress only if they have a good industrial sector. Industry provides employment, which is more stable than the employment in agriculture. It promotes modernization and overall prosperity. It is for this reason that the 5-year plans place a lot of emphasis on industrial development. Can you tell which 5-year plan? Second 5-year plan. That motto was, the theme was industrialization. Now the next is Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 formed on the basis of the second 5-year plan. This resolution classified into three categories. First category, that is public enterprises or public sector, comprised industries which would be exclusively owned by the state, means government. The second category consisted of industries in which the private sector could supplement the efforts of the state sector, with the state taking the sole responsibility for starting new units, that is under joint sector. The third category is the remaining industries which were to be in the private sector. The next we find, but the private sector was kept under state control through a system of license. No new industry was allowed unless a license was obtained from the government. This policy was used for promoting industry in backward regions. It was easier to obtain a license if the industry or industrial unit was established in an economically backward area. Such units were given certain concessions such as tax benefits and subsidized electricity. The purpose of this policy was to promote regional equality. If an existing industry had to obtain a license for expanding output or for diversifying products, this was meant to ensure that the quantity of goods produced was not more than what the economy required. License to expand production was given only if the government was convinced that the economy required a larger quantity of goods. Otherwise, the license was not given. The next topic is small scale industry. In 1955, the Village and Small Scale Industries Committee, also called Karba Committee, KARVA, Karba Committee, noted the possibility of using small scale industries for promoting rural development. The main purpose of the establishment of small scale industries for rural development in India. The definition of small scale is given. SSI is presently defined as one unit or one whose investment including plant and machinery does not exceed rupees 5 crore. It was in 1951 5 lakhs. So the industries whose total capital is not more than 5 crore will be treated as small scale industry. What are the benefits of small scale industry? Small scale industry is labor intensive, means it provides employment opportunities. So the main purpose of SSI is to establish in rural areas, and so it provides employment opportunities to the rural people. SSI uses locally available raw materials. So whatever the raw materials are available in the locality, the industry is based on that inputs. Regional balanced growth. Small scale leads to development of the rural sector. On the other hand, the urban sectors are developed. Small scale developing the rural sector, so it minimizes the gap between rural and urban sectors. To start small scale, less capital is required since it's not more than 5 crore. And why the people are interested in small scale industry? Because some benefits are provided by the government to the investors. Next is trade policy. In the previous video, we have explained that during the British rule in India, the strategy of government was the exploitation of raw materials of India and dumping of manufactured goods in India. As consequence of this strategy, India used to export raw materials like raw cotton and import the manufactured goods like machine-made cotton textiles from Britain. Thus, the trade was simply used as an instrument to assist colonial strategy of development. Since independence, our government trade strategy had been of import substitution and export promotion. In later years, the strategy has been towards import liberalization along with export promotion. So the trade policy of India since independence can broadly be grouped as number one, policy of import substitution, number two, policy of export promotion, and third, policy of import liberalization. Policy of import substitution. This policy aimed at replacing or substituting imports with domestic production. It has two main objectives. Number one, to serve scarce foreign exchange for the import of important goods, and number two, to achieve self-reliance in the production of goods like food grain, primary raw materials, etc. This policy of import substitution in India had gone three phases. In the earlier phase, import substitution took place mostly in form of domestic production of consumer goods. In the second phase, our emphasis shifted from the production of consumer goods to the domestic production of capital goods. And in the third phase, it was placed on reducing the dependence on imported technology and thereby encouraging the use of indigenous techniques. Under this policy, the government protected the domestic industries from foreign competition. Second policy, the policy of export promotion. Initially, India had foreign exchange reserves with which she could pay for her essential imports. Soon it was realized by 1958 such reserves could not last long. It was felt that without earning foreign exchange, the country could not enter the stage of self-sustained economic growth. Foreign exchange could be earned through the promotion of exports. This is how the strategy of export promotion was adopted. Third, policy of import liberalization. In the beginning of 80s, so in 1985, the policy of import liberalization along with export promotion was adopted. But the real thrust in this direction was only from 1985 onwards. The next, we have number of questions. Try to answer these questions. That's all. Thank you.